The moment the plane shuddered, everyone thought it was turbulence. Only Captain Lena Mercer knew the truth. This wasn't the sky misbehaving. This was a betrayal unfolding at 30,000 feet, and if she didn't act now, thousands of people would be dead by dawn. Lena hadn't planned to be on the general's plane. She was supposed to be grounded, buried under paperwork after filing a report no one wanted to read. But when General Victor Harlan requested a last-minute intelligence briefing and demanded she accompany him, for clarification, something in his tone had chilled her. Harlan was a legend, decorated, respected, untouchable. And yet, as Lena buckled into the narrow seat behind him, her instinct screamed that legends could rot too. The flight was quiet at first. The hum of engines, the dim cabin lights, the faint smell of fuel and leather. Lena studied the back of Harlan's head, the silver hair, the rigid posture. She remembered when she had admired him, when his speeches about duty had carried her through the darkest nights of training. That memory now felt like a lie she had told herself to survive. It started with a file she wasn't meant to see. 2 weeks earlier, while cross-checking satellite logs, Lena noticed a discrepancy: troop movements masked as training exercises, rerouted supply chains, encrypted communications that bypassed standard command. When she traced them back, the trail led to one name. General Victor Harlan. The man responsible for protecting the border was quietly preparing to abandon it, orchestrating a strategic withdrawal that would leave entire cities exposed. The resulting chaos, according to the projections, would kill thousands. Civilians, soldiers, children. She reported it. The report vanished. Now she was on his plane, flying toward a classified airbase where the final order would be signed. Halfway through the flight, Lena leaned forward. "Sir," she said carefully, "I noticed the flight path changed." "That wasn't in the briefing." Harlan didn't turn. "Weather adjustment. There's no storm on the radar," she replied. Silence stretched between them, then he smiled, not warmly, but with the patience one reserves for someone already defeated. "Captain Mercer," he said, finally meeting her eyes, "you're very observant. That will serve you well, somewhere else." He reached for the intercom. Lena moved before she could think. She lunged, knocking his hand away. The cockpit door alarm blared. The pilot shouted in confusion. Harlan's eyes hardened, and in that instant, Lena knew, there would be no arrest, no courtroom, no justice that arrived in time. If she failed here, history would record this as a tragic necessity. If she succeeded, she would be remembered as a criminal who crashed a general's plane. The struggle was brief but violent. Lena slammed into the console, pain exploding across her shoulder. The plane dipped sharply, sending alarms screaming. The pilot yelled for control, but Harlan had already drawn his sidearm. "You don't understand," he said, voice steady as steel. "This is how wars are prevented. Sacrifice at the edges to save the center." "Thousands aren't edges," Lena gasped. She didn't think about heroism or consequence. She thought about the intercepted messages, the maps marked with red zones, the families who trusted the uniforms they saw on the street. And she did the unthinkable. She grabbed the yoke. The plane lurched violently. Gravity pinned them as the nose dipped. The pilot screamed. Harlan fired, the bullet tearing through a panel inches from her head. Lena held on, forcing the plane into a controlled descent she had practiced only in simulators, never with a furious general trying to kill her. "Pull up," the pilot shouted. "I can't," Lena yelled back. "We're too fast." She'll stall. Her mind raced, calculating angles, wind, altitude. She wasn't trying to destroy the plane. She was trying to stop it from reaching its destination. There was an emergency airstrip marked on her mental map, abandoned, barely maintained, but long enough. Harlan charged her. The gun went off again. Pain ripped through her leg, but she stayed upright, fueled by something raw and unstoppable. She slammed her elbow into his chest, knocking him back just enough. The plane hit the ground hard. Metal screamed. Sparks flew. The impact threw everyone forward as the landing gear collapsed, skidding across concrete in a storm of smoke and fire. The plane spun, then finally, mercifully, stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but ringing silence. Lena lay on the floor, blood soaking her pant leg, lungs burning. The pilot was alive, dazed but breathing. Harlan was slumped against the wall, unconscious, his weapon skittered across the floor. Sirens wailed in the distance. They arrested her first. She was dragged from the wreckage on a stretcher, hands cuffed, cameras flashing. The headlines came fast and merciless. Traitor crashes general's plane. Disgraced officer sabotages military flight. The painkillers blurred her vision, but not the shame twisting in her chest. She had known this would happen. She had accepted it. In the interrogation room days later, Lena sat alone, staring at the table. No one asked about her injuries. No one mentioned the files she had tried to submit. They only asked one question, over and over. Why did you do it? She answered the same way every time. Because people were going to die. They laughed at that. Then, quietly, everything changed. An analyst somewhere, young, overworked, stubborn, reopened her original report. He cross-referenced it with recovered data from the crashed plane. Then another analyst joined. Then another. The web unraveled quickly once someone finally bothered to pull on the thread. The orders. The secret accounts. The foreign contacts. General Victor Harlan's betrayal came apart in a cascade of evidence. The cities were reinforced. The withdrawal was cancelled. Troops were redirected. An attack that would have slaughtered thousands never came, because it was no longer possible. Lena heard none of this at first. She was in a cell when the door opened and a colonel she had never met stepped inside. He didn't sit. He just looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "You saved a lot of lives," he said finally. She swallowed. "That wasn't my intention. I just couldn't let him." "I know," he interrupted. "That's why it worked." The charges against her disappeared. Not publicly. Officially, the incident was ruled a mechanical failure combined with unfortunate misunderstandings. Harlan was quietly removed, his name erased from buildings, his medals returned to boxes no one would open again. Lena was offered a promotion. She declined. Months later, she stood on a hill overlooking a city that still slept peacefully at night. Lights twinkled, traffic hummed, life went on, unaware of how close it had come to ending. No statues bore her name. No speeches praised her courage. And that was fine, because real courage, Lena had learned, wasn't about being seen. It was about acting when silence is safer, standing when obedience is easier, and choosing to carry the weight of the world's anger if it means the world gets to keep turning. She limped slightly as she walked away, the scar on her leg a permanent reminder, not of the crash, but of the moment she chose humanity over hierarchy. And somewhere, thousands of people lived their ordinary lives, never knowing that one woman had crashed a general's plane so they could wake up tomorrow.